Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap, and today let's welcome Miss Pragya Bajpai, who has been recently selected as an RBI Grade B officer. So ma'am, first of all, heartiest congratulations to you for becoming RBI
Thank
Grade
you
B
so much.
officer.
Thank you so much.
So you must have been feeling very good right now after being selected as RBI Grade B officer.
Yes, I cannot describe it in words. I'm just very happy.
Okay. So guys, today ma'am will be telling you everything about her strategy and how she prepared for the RBI Grade B exam. So ma'am, let's start with the very first important thing, that is about your background, educational background, as well as the
Yeah.
professional background, if any.
Yes. So I did my graduation in BCom honors and from Lady Shriram College, which comes under DU, and I completed my graduation in the later half of 2020. And thereafter, I did not go for any job or placements. I started preparing for these examinations. I wanted to pursue masters, but because of the uncertainty, because of the
Mm.
lockdown and Corona, I dropped the idea. And thereafter, I just appeared for examinations like SBI PO and IBPS PO just to get an idea of what how the examination system works. And this was my very first attempt of RBI, and fortunately, I've made it. So yes,
So this was your
that's
first attempt, and you have basically made it in the very first attempt. A very
mm,
good achievement. So can you tell us that as it was the first attempt, but you have also appeared in some other exams like
mm,
IBPS PU
yes,
and SBA PU. So what were the learnings that you take from those exams which
mm,
helped you in clearing the RBI Grade B exam successfully?
yes. So the time when I gave these examinations, my preparation was not up to the mark, definitely. And for example, for in IBPS examination, I reached up to the interview level, but my interview, I just really messed it up because I was not. I realized that I was very low on my confidence level. So I learned from there that the main part that I need to work upon is upon my confidence. Otherwise, because nowadays the interview has been playing a major role in selection of the candidates. So I focus mainly on that part. Other than that, for quant and reasoning, which are very important, which play a very important role in phase one of RBI as well, I was I was not able to attend those questions which would fetch me more marks. I focus more on questions like puzzles and all those questions. So I took a learning from there that I need to focus more on miscellaneous kind of questions which would fetch me more marks. And instead of going for difficult questions, I need to go for simpler ones which would provide me more marks and help me clear the cutoff.
Okay. So as you have mentioned that it was your first attempt. So
Yes.
still, maybe it was the first attempt, but still there must have been some tough times during the whole preparation process for the RBI Grade B exam. So can you tell our aspirants about that, and how did you manage to maintain your motivation levels so that you
Oh,
were just remain focused and preparing for the RBI Grade B exam?
okay. So when I got to know about the examination, I was in my third year of college, but then I was not sure whether to give the examination or not. And especially after the lockdown, I did some research and got to know about the
Hmm.
examination and the subjects. But while I was planning on preparing for the examination, I got to know that the pattern has come changed altogether. Like there would be descriptive as well.
Hmm.
So I was I was in a great dilemma whether to go for the examination or not. So, but then I gave an kickstart to the preparation. And going ahead, of course, I faced many set of challenges. Like I had certain family problems and other reasons. And other than that, I was very low on motivation. Like it is very difficult to get up every day and follow the
Hmm.
same routine. So for that, I took a lot of breaks. I don't know if it will work for a lot many candidates or not, but for me it did. It definitely increased my efficiency and my productivity. So I used to go out and meet my friends and spend quality time with my family. So being around with my family and friends, it really did help me and provided me that kind of motivation that I had to do it, not just for myself, but for people around me. So that played a major motivational role in my life.
So your friends and family were basically the supporting pillars during those tough times.
Definitely.
So,
The most
anything
marking.
that you would like to mention here about the stress busters that you used to basically use
Yeah.
during those times?
So yeah, actually doing engaging in any kind of physical activity, be it yoga, meditation, any form of walking, exercising, it does really help. So I used to practice yoga. It kept me fit and also provided me that kind of mental stability to prepare for the examination. And other than that, I used to listen to songs and just dance
Hmm.
around. I think it's very important that you feel rejuvenated all the time. Otherwise, if you feel very low on motivation or morale, you will end up not completing my daily targets. I used to make a daily schedule for myself, and I used to, and it wasn't like a time based schedule, rather a target based schedule. Like I would decide particular chapters that I had to do, and I used to like meet up, if not 100%, then at least 70 to 80% of that schedule. So that did help.
So following the schedule in that routine and the timely breaks basically
Yeah,
helped you in that. And also very
that's
practical tips given by you to the aspirants. I really believe that they are going to help the aspirants
hopefully.
who will be or would be juniors next year.
Yeah,
So
hopefully.
let's start with the very first part, that is the phase one preparation. So as per you, what is the low hanging fruit in the phase one preparation, and what was your most scoring section out of the four sections which are being asked in the
Okay.
exam?
So I had a pretty good command over English, and obviously GA plays a major role. So I was very clear in my mind that I had to focus more on GA because I did not have a very good hold over subjects like quant and reasoning. My main focus was just to clear the cutoff. So for quants and reasoning, I mainly watched some YouTube videos for conceptual clarity, and I solved mocks as many as I could. And for English, I did not have to practice a lot. I just practiced mocks for English as well. And for GA, I used to, go for quizzes. Like I believe in quiz based learning more than just reading stuff and noting it down. You need to, it helps in recalling. So I focus mainly on GA and English for, for making clear the phase one cutoff altogether.
Okay, so very important point about this, that you are really required to retain a lot of facts and figures when we talk
Yeah.
about the current affairs.
And that
So
happens only when you solve quizzes and questions on a daily basis. The recalling thing happens only then. Like if you're reading it and just trying to, retain it in your memory, it does not happen that way. At least for me, it didn't. So I had to solve a lot of quizzes and all that. So it did help.
So solving MCQs helped you to retain those heavy facts
Yes,
and figures which you are required to retain. A very
yes,
important thing to the aspirants. So as you mentioned that you have basically solved MCQs and you have solved mocks for the quant and reasoning as well.
yes,
And you must have done some kind of analysis to analyze it. What are your strong areas? What are your weak
yes.
areas? So can you tell our aspirants about the importance of that analysis, which plays a very important role in basically deciding that what exactly is left to be done?
Okay. So for quant and reasoning, I did some analysis and I reached to the conclusion that the difficult questions, like the lengthy ones, or should I say, like puzzles and all, do not devote a lot of time towards those questions and trying to understand what the question is saying and trying to solve it. Rather, focus on questions which are easier or miscellaneous kind of questions like inequalities and all those questions. They'll fetch you more marks. So that happened with me because in less time I was able to solve more questions rather than just focusing on one question and solving parts of it.
So now coming to the current affairs section, as it basically of
Yeah.
40% of the whole phase one preparation. So can you tell our students about the sources that you used to follow for preparing the current affairs?
Okay. So I used to follow Affairs Cloud for current affairs, and they release weekly and a monthly PDF for the current affairs as well. So I used to follow just mainly one source for the current affairs part, and I used to revise it multiple times because the revision is the key. You cannot cover everything under the sun. You have to stick to certain parts of it and then focus on revising it again and again. So I used to just follow one source and mainly, and then top it off with PIB and RBI circulars. I referred to the compilations given by EduTap for that. So they actually provide everything under one place. So it was easier for me to refer to those documents.
So basically, what helped you to decide that these are the things that I am required to cover?
Okay, so actually, when I started my preparation, as you know, this was my very first attempt. So I did not really know what sources, what exact sources should I follow. I was completely lost in the beginning, as any candidate would be. So, but then I started watching YouTube videos of, I started watching toppers talk, and I used to listen to them and try to follow their strategy. And then I did a lot of research on my own, and I figured out a few sources. There are many sources. When you're preparing for the examination, you'll come across many sources, but you just have to prioritize and make a list of those sources which you're going to stick to in the long run. So I did mainly that.
So for your RBI Grade B preparation, you subscribe to any course to basically target the exam?
Yes, I took EduTap's course, and I think the summary sheets provided by the institutions are very, very helpful. They helped me in the last minute
Mm.
revision of many of the topics, and it, I think,
Yes,
definitely did help.
definitely. So very glad to hear that we also helped you in clearing and achieving your dream job of
Thank you
becoming
so
RBI
much.
Grade B officer. So that was about the phase one preparation.
Yeah,
So guys, I think that you have got the answer that what exactly is the importance of solving the mocks, as well as also the next important thing is to prioritize the areas, and
mm,
to retain the heavy facts and figures. You are also required to solve the MCQs because they are very important in the
definitely.
exam as well. You are going to face them in the form of multiple choice questions only. So now let's talk about the phase two preparation. So
Okay.
as we all know that new challenges has been introduced by the RBI, that is a descriptive part. And
Mm.
now the interface which is being given to answer those descriptive questions in the exam is also a challenge in itself. So ma'am,
Yes.
how did you prepare for the descriptive answers as per you? What is the good structure of a descriptive answer? What are the good elements of a good descriptive answer?
Mm. Okay. So for phase two preparation and especially for descriptive answer writing, I mainly started with reading those summary sheets provided by you, and I think after the notification, no, before the notification came, I tried to complete at least 30 to 40% of the syllabus, and there also I prioritize certain topics over other topics. And for example, in management, I prioritized leadership and motivational theories over topics like ethics, which I could not understand very well at that point of time. So I mainly focused on the topics which I had a good hold on. So I focused mainly on those topics. I started reading, I started collecting fodder for my answer writing. Then I used, for like my graduation, it did help, played a major role in preparing for the phase two part, because I did my graduation in BCom honors. So I had a basic understanding of subjects like finance, management, and economics. And for descriptive also it did help, because like we had to do a lot of answer writing in our graduation. So I had a very basic idea of the structure that I should be following for the final examination. I just made I used to make pointers for every question that there was, and then I used to compare, like for which answer do I have more pointers with me, and more relevant pointers I would say with me. So then I used to write those answers. And I would say the basic structure I used to follow: the introduction, the body, which would explain the, like what the question. I did a very analysis of the question in itself, like what the question is asking, and then I used to divide that question into micro questions, and then would frame the body accordingly, and then the simple conclusion. And so that's the structure that I followed. And for the typing speed and the interface, I think I would say the interface is not very friendly. And so I think I practiced like maybe hardly 2 to 3 questions. I had a good command over uh, this writing. I had a average writing speed, I would say. And I think average right, if anyone has an average typing speed, it would be, they would be good to go. You just need to practice type your answer writing. Like you should know the structure and you should know the pointers. And the typing speed, I don't think it does play a major role. If you are like well versed, if even if you do have an average typing speed, it does the
You
job.
can definitely do it as per the requirement of the
Yeah.
exam. So very important thing that you must have a repository of a good content so that you have good
Yes,
points
good
to jot
fodder.
it down during the exam. Very important point. So ma'am, what exactly should be the strategy to attempt those descriptive questions? See, there are times that students are basically having a very common question that whether we should write the answer in the point wise form or in the
Hmm.
paragraph format.
Yeah. So what I did was I used to write in the pointers. I think the pointers would drive the attention of the examiner to the important highlights of the answer that you're writing. I think that should be the approach. And I guess, yeah, that's it. Just go with the pointers thing, and try to include, try to answer every micro
Hmm.
question that the examiner is asking. Try to analyze the question from their point of view instead of your point of view, then you'll be able to answer better. And try to stick to the word limit. Do not try to overdo it. For example, for a 600 word answer, just stick to 450, 500 words. That would do.
Okay, so that will suffice the requirement of the exam.
I think it will. Yeah, it did for
Yes,
me.
it did for you, really.
Yeah.
So now talking about, see, we all know that the duration of the exam is of 5.5 hours. So
Yeah.
how can one get acclimatized himself uh, to sitting for those long hours to
Yeah.
attempt the exam successfully on the exam day?
I remember when I went to give the examination, it was in June and it was very, very
Hmm.
hot. The examination center, some construction was going on there, so it was very hot. But then I remember I carried like a water bottle with me, my lunch. They give you the time to do lunch in between. So keep yourself hydrated and do not like. I remember when I was attempting the English descriptive part, I was about to give up. Like I was so I would say dehydrated and I
Hmm.
was so demotivated at that time. My body had given up at that point of time. So I was like, no, I can't do it. But then in my mind, I kept myself going, no, I have to just write it once. I have come such a long way. I can't just leave it at this point of time. So you just have to have that kind of, because at some point of time, your body would give up because it's a pretty lengthy examination. So I remember I went out 7 in the morning and then I came back 7 in the evening. So it was like
Hmm.
very long duration, I would say. But then your body would give it at some point of time. But then in your mind, you have to have that kind of mentality, know that you have to write the examination. You have to remember all the efforts that you have put in prior. So just don't give up and try to attempt every question that there is, even if you do not have like enough fodder for any question. For example, I remember there was this question on TLTRO. I did
Hmm.
not know much about the points. So I just wrote like very less words. I think I wrote hardly 200 to 50 words for the answer. But then I did not leave any answer. So just try doing that and I think it will work.
Attempting the question is very important, and
Yes.
it's also the attitude that plays the important
Yes.
role. That
Yes.
karna hai to karna hai attitude that you also
Exactly.
had, that
It
will
was a do or die situation.
definitely. So very important point for all the aspirants. So now let's talk about the phase two exam. Let's first of all talk about the finance and management section. So as
Yeah.
per you, what is exactly the low hanging fruit in the finance and management section of RBI Grade B exam?
Uh, I think I think management is you can just read the summary sheets and you will be good to go. And you can always leave some topics which are not frequently asked in the examination. So for me, I completely left the ethics part and the organizational behaviors topics like that because my main focus was on my main focus was to revise the portion that I already completed. So I mean, and I think in the past 2 years we have seen a lot of questions have been asked from topics like these motivational and leadership theories. So I focused mainly on those topics. I basically prioritized, and some topics I entirely left, and it did work in favor of me. And for finance, I would say I had a good command over finance, but for some topics, for example, like futures, forwards, and all those stock market related, I did not have a very good understanding of those topics. So I did watch your videos for conceptual clarity on those topics, and for other topics, I think I did the same. I watched your videos and I read the summary sheets, and I just used to discuss it with my friend to get a better understanding of the subject. And I think, yeah, that's
And
pretty much it.
how were those videos?
Very engaging. You used the very, I think, very engaging examples were used. So that did catch my attention. And so, yeah, definitely, I really liked watching your videos.
And we know the result.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
glad to
you.
hear that. So, when I talk about finance, can you tell the students about the importance of the RBI notifications and the other important finance current affairs which are being asked in the
Yes, of
exam?
course. Yes, I have just talked about the static part, and for the dynamic part, I would say the notifications play a very very important role. And for that, I defer to the compilations provided by you, and I also visited the RBI website from time to time, and just to match if there is any
Mhm.
lag or something like that. So I used to revise from those compilations, and like with the increasing importance of the dynamic portion, I think more focus should be on the dynamic part rather than the static part.
Very
Because
important point.
even if the
Yeah.
static part is asked, it is asked in being connection with the dynamic part. So I think more focus should be on the dynamic portion.
Definitely. As we all know that there were some questions like the PIDF points that RBI is going
Yes,
to launch. The
yes,
numbers were basically asked.
yes,
So
yes.
guys, very important point mentioned by ma'am here that you are
And
really
I think
required. Yes, ma'am.
before the phase one and as well as the phase two examinations, there were marathon sessions
Yeah.
run by the platform. They definitely helped me a lot. I completely relied on those marathon
Hmm.
sessions and the PDFs provided by you. And I think a lot of questions came from that PDF only. So
The,
marathon
t-
sessions were a great help.
the team is really going to be happy after seeing you saying that part.
Because
So
it was very, very important for the from the
yes.
revision point of view.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, those marathons are basically for the revision purposes so that
Yes.
you can revise a lot of things with the minimum effort. So
Hmm.
that is going to give you a maximum output from those minimum efforts that you are going to put because that time the revision part is a very, very important part. So, as you have told us about the revision, so what exactly is the importance of revision when we are preparing for an exam like RBI Grade B exam?
As I said, you can just you cannot cover everything
Mm.
that there is under the sun. You need to prioritize and revise again and again. Otherwise, you won't be when you sit for the final examination, you won't be able to recall the important data or important pointers when you go on writing the descriptive part, I would say. So I think revision is the key. And when you sit in the examination hall, there's a lot of pressure on you. You see people around you just typing, you see keys, the you see hear those noises, and it creates a lot of pressure. And at that time, you need to just recall all of the data that there is in your mind. You have read it before, but only when you revise, you will be able to recall. So
Yes, because we know that that particular interface is also a challenge in itself.
it is,
Apart
it
from
is.
that, those typing keys are also making you more pressure,
Yeah,
feeling more pressure. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So you have to basically maintain your cool and you have to retain all the things that you have covered, and revision is the important thing that is going to help you in that.
Yeah. Even I think you provided flow charts and mind maps.
Hmm.
So they provided like I used to just quickly view it and I was like good to go with the
Can
revision
you
part.
ma'am, can you throw some light on those mind maps that you have read in the course?
I think they were very comprehensive. They were very like they were not very lengthy. I would say it was hardly a 2 to 3 page PDF or sometimes even less. And you just had to but it was very comprehensive. Like especially for schemes, I referred to those
Hmm.
documents. There was a flow chart which would mention the scheme and then the important highlights about it. If there is some news regarding it, the launch year, the ministry, everything. So it provided a very quick view of the entire and a very comprehensive it presented the scheme in a very comprehensive manner and would provide you a very quick way to revise that particular topic.
Yes, basically helping the students to revise those things in just
Very, very
element
important.
forms. Yeah.
And I think for my preparation, revision played the major role because I remember I left a lot of syllabus undone. So I mainly focused on revising. And for that, the marathon session and the flowchart of the schemes and other important documents, it did help.
This is going to be $1 billion advice to all the aspirants watching here. Yeah.
And even if the students can try and make their own mind maps and flowcharts if they wish to, that would also help.
Yeah, definitely you can do on your own as well in order
Yeah.
to make your own notes and
Because
revise them.
when you write things, it will create a long lasting memory in your mind. So you can try doing that.
Definitely. So, ma'am, now let's talk about the economics and social issues section. So, what do you
Yeah.
think is more important, the static part or the current affairs part?
I think I would say both are equally important because if you do not have the basic understanding of the topics, like if you do not know basic terminologies like what is GDP and all those things, you'll not be able to understand. Even if you try to read the current affairs, you'll not be able to understand certain terminologies which are used there. So I think static part is as important as the dynamic part because even when you go on writing descriptive answers, you need to have a basic understanding of. I wouldn't say that you need to dig deeper inside those topics but have a basic understanding and and uh, and then top it off with of course the dynamic parts, the GA portion and the schemes, the indices which are released, reports. I think these are of utmost importance.
So, in the current affairs, you are required to cover the schemes, the reports, and the
Indices.
other ESI current affairs that
Yes.
are important from the exam.
I think
Yeah.
schemes and all are very, very important. I think two, three questions were asked from schemes, then summits and reports and indices. So
Yes.
yeah.
And even I would say that there were two, three paragraphs on different schemes which are being asked in
Yeah.
the objective part
Yes.
of the exam.
And I think
Definitely.
focus mainly on flagship schemes of the ministries. I think those are more frequently asked.
Yeah.
And focus
So,
on schemes from past, I think, 4 to 5 months, that would do.
yes,
And if there
timeline
is
is very
any
important.
important, and if there is very important or a major scheme or a flagship scheme launched by any ministry, then you can go into the details of that.
I would like to request you to throw some light on the timeline of the reports and indices as well, and also the ASI and other important FM current affairs which are important for the exam.
So for reports, indices, and schemes, I would say I mainly focused on schemes and reports from past 6 months, uh, from the phase one, and I think other than that, like if there were some major schemes that were launched in the past whole year, I would say I read those. I did not focus on each and every scheme that there is or each and every report that there was. So I mainly focused on the schemes and reports from past 6 months from the date of the examination of phase one.
So guys, kindly note down this point as you are also required to repeat the same thing when you will be preparing for RBI Grade B exam next year. So very important point. So now,
And even for schemes and indices and everything, the marathon sessions, they provided a great help because they provided everything at one place, and all the important and the, I would say, the schemes which would pose a question, possible question in the examinations were all there, I would say.
yes, definitely. I think that they have basically जो purpose था उनको launch करने का, I think we have got that achievement as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, they were really
For me,
successful.
they were a great, great help.
Yeah, definitely it would have. So now you also mentioned that static topics are also important in the ESI part. So can you mention some topics which are really very important to be covered from the exam point of view?
Okay. So read the very basic ones. For example, the topics like national income and labor laws, etc. Just read those and you'll be good to go. Do not go into the details of topics like I think the sociology part. It's not that important as per. Just focus main on the economics part, the statics of the economics part. That will provide you a better understanding of the terminologies that you will come across if you read the newspapers or you just try to cover current affairs from any of the source.
Okay. Now let's talk about the English descriptive part. So please tell our aspirants that what exactly is the way to allocate time to those three questions which are being asked in the exam, and what
Hmm.
is the order to attempt those questions?
So for me, I first attempted the this presse part. So I did that first because there was a it was easier for me to do that first. After that, I focused mainly on the reading comprehension part. I just picked up the questions and answered them serial number wise. And in the last, I did the essay because I was because I knew that if I even if I would have less time in the end, I would just be quickly able to wrap it up and just provide a good conclusion for my essay, and I would be good to go. So I attempted it in this order, because even in the Prezi I had to stick to the word limit. So I did that first, then the reading comprehension, and then the essay.
Did you prepare any prospective list of essays for the phase two exam?
No, as such I did not. I used to read editorials and like uh, before my phase two for 1 month I just read editorials. It provided me a good reading and writing speed, I would say, and that was pretty much. I did not
Okay.
as such practice prepared a list of possible essay questions. I just read editorials which provided me a good speed.
As you mentioned that you appeared in so many mocks for the phase one exam. So what exactly was the point in the phase two part? You appeared for any kind of mock for
I
the
did
phase
not.
two?
Okay, so I did not sit for any full length mock, I would say. I just did like the small mocks I would attend for this ESI and FM portion. I did not attempt any mock for the descriptive part.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so just small mocks I attended because I had less time and my main focus was to revise at that time as well. So I did not sit for mocks because at that time I had a lot of syllabus to revise. So I thought instead of wasting time on I won't say the mock is a waste of time, but for me, since I had limited time at my hand, so I focused mainly on revision and just small mocks.
Yeah. So basically, you appeared for the sectional mocks, I can say,
Yeah,
and
sectional marks, exactly.
you were more focusing on the revision part. That is also very important to do, to retain all those things that you have covered in the last few weeks and months in order to prepare for the phase two part. Very important. So, ma'am, now let's talk about the interview process. That is the last part of the recruitment
Yeah.
cycle. So how did you prepare for the interview? The sources that you would like to tell our aspirants that you do, like the RBI website, circulars, speeches, any books that you may have
Yeah.
referred to?
Okay. So I think the interview part was my favorite, and the most amount of effort that I put in was the interview part. And I think the result came in July, and my interview was in September, so I had a lot of time in my hands to prepare for the interview part. So when I gave my IBPSPO interview, I realized that I was lacking on the confidence front. I have the knowledge with me, but I was not able to, present it in a very relevant way in front of the interviewers. So I was very low on confidence. So to my fortune, I would say I had to go to Mumbai for some reason, for some personal reason, and there I came across a lot of people. I indulged in conversations with them, and I focused mainly on the communication part. I did some, I prepared for some static topics, very basic banking awareness and journal awareness, and I used to follow the RBI website for the notification and speeches part. Other than that, I used to read newspaper, so just to get an idea of what is going around the world and form my opinion on it. So, and then I used to watch YouTube videos for, getting an idea of like what's the take of
Hmm.
various leaders on various, like there was a lot going on, the war, the inflation, everything was going on. So I used to watch videos on that. And but other than that, I used to mainly focus on indulging in conversations with people. Like for example, I remember I was part of many channels on the Telegram. So there, I made certain friends, which were we used to like discuss. I used to pick out every topic. We used to pick out each topic each day, and then we used to hold a discussion around that topic. So that provided me a lot of insight of what the other person is thinking and how I am thinking about the same topic. So we used to hold discussions around those topics, and that kind of boosted my confidence. And I gave multiple mocks. Not multiple. I just gave 2 to 3 mocks, I would say. But then I got like very positive feedback. I also got constructive criticism
Hmm.
from the interviewers, and it did help me a lot. And because I believe like having information about certain thing or knowledge about a certain thing is one thing, but if you're not able to present it nicely before the interviewer, that would definitely mess things up. So communication is the key, and you need to stay calm and focused. And even if you do not know the answer to a certain question, I remember even in my final interview, I did not know answers to maybe 3 to 4 questions, but then I humbly said that sorry sir, I don't know, and it did help in my favor.
So, in a nutshell, I can say that you basically worked on your weaknesses, and
Yes,
working on the weaknesses is a very important part. As you also mentioned
definitely.
that you were low in the confidence when you gave the IBPSPO interview, but you worked on it and successfully cleared the interview part as well of the RBI Grade B exam. So, when I
One thing I would like to say that
yes.
if you're someone who is facing, like I used to indulge in a very, I was pointed out by certain interviewers that I was very active in my non-verbal communication. Like I used to make a lot of hand gestures, and then my facial expressions used to change a lot when I communicated. So I used to record myself and then watch myself that how I'm speaking and what all mistakes I have been doing. So people who have been facing problems like these, they should just record themselves instead of narrating it to someone else or narrating it in front of the practicing in front of the mirror. I would say record yourself, because that way you can watch it later and rectify your mistakes.
Self assessment is very, very important.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah, when you want to improve yourself, very important point. So you talked about the mocks. So did you appeared in the mock interviews for from any platform or?
Yes, I did. So I appeared for the EduTap online mock, the iExam B mock, and the Crack Grade B mock, which was an offline one. So I appeared for 3 mocks.
And the feedback which was given, first of all, tell me about how was the panel which was at the EduTap's
I think
interview mock,
the
and
panel
how?
was very, very cordial. Even if I didn't know the answer to certain questions, they would very nicely try to direct me towards the answer myself. Instead of telling the answer to me directly, they would try to direct me. So it was very nice, and they provided a very nice feedback. They provided positive feedback. I think getting positive feedback, especially before your interview, definitely boosts up your confidence. They provided me very positive feedback and about my personality and about the answers that I gave, and they provided constructive criticism on certain aspects. So it wasn't too grilling, I would say, because if the interview, even if the mock interview is very, very grilling, that shatters your confidence on a very, very low level. So I think that did not happen, and I was very, very. The panel was very cordial.
So in a nutshell, there was an appropriate balance in that.
Exactly, a balance.
So was it similar to the question that they asked you in the mock interview? Were they similar to the questions which were being asked in the actual interview that you appeared for in RBI Grade B?
I would say yes, somewhat they were, because in my actual interview, the questions were there was a wide range of questions that were asked. There were questions from HR, from my this psychometric assessment, from the biodata, and there were questions in general, like what's happening around the world, questions on inflation, export, and everything. So it was a very interesting interview. Then questions about my personality, about the choices that I had made in my life. It was a very so all in all, I think somewhat the mock interview will give you a feel of how the actual interview would go. But I would say when you go and sit in front of the huge panel, like I
Mhm.
remember there were 6 members and all scattered around, and not scattered. There was a huge table, and they were all sitting in front of me, and I was very nervous. But all in all, the mock interview did help me in countering those questions. I remember there was a lot of counter questions from me in the actual interview. So I think the mock played a good role and provided me that kind of questions to be able to handle the counter questions better. Because I remember in my IBPS interview, I used to mess up when there was any kind of counter question from me. So that did not happen with me in the RBI interview. So I'm very glad.
So you learned from your mistakes and you finally achieved the result that you were
I
seeking
did.
for. So
Right.
as per your performance, what do you think that what these people are looking for?
I think they are looking for people who are very genuine, I would say. If you do not know an answer to a certain question, don't try to bluff. That would they'll know because they are experienced enough to know when you're bluffing. So do not try to bluff. Just simply say that I do not know, because they'll indulge you in a trap and you won't be able to come out of that, and that will mess up the whole interview. So try to be genuine. Try to stay humble, and try to listen to exactly what they're asking, and then analyze and then answer. Take I would say take 2 to 3 seconds to think of an answer. Do not directly jump onto answering. Take 2 to 3 seconds, good amount of time, and then answer. I remember, like, for certain questions I did specially ask for like time. I said, sir, can I have like 3 to 4 seconds for answering it better? So the panel was very cordial, the actual panel. So it was a nice experience.
So I believe, guys, that you must have got all the answers to your queries about the phase one, phase two, and phase three part. Now, one thing is left, that is the psychometric test. So, ma'am, kindly throw
Hmm.
some light on that test as well.
I think even in your psychometrics test, you have to stay honest and mark whatever you feel like. You can't be, because I remember there was a question in the actual interview which they asked, and it was based on my psychometric assessment. So you have to stay honest there. Otherwise, if your actual answer does not match with with what the assessment has shown, then that would create a problem. So don't just try to stay as honest as possible, because when you're put in a situation when there is a lot of pressure on you, you tend to answer honestly. So when you get your psychometric assessment, just try to think and answer honestly even at that point of time. Do not try to show yourself, do not try to portray yourself as someone who you're not. So just try to stay as honest as possible.
So, once again, honesty is the best policy.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, ma'am, one last thing, that any message that you want to give to our aspirants who are going to appear next year for the RBI Grade B exam?
Yes. I think one message that I would like to give, like even when I started my preparation, I used to watch a lot of videos here and there. I used to talk to people about the examination, and in my mind, I created a very horrifying image of the examination. The examination is not that tough and horrifying. It is simple indeed, and we tend to make it difficult. So do not try to do that. Just believe in yourself, and prioritize things, and do not try to cover everything that there is. Just focus on certain topics and keep on revising them again and again. Do not try to create confusion in your mind. Stick to particular sources and do not try to make the examination tougher than that it is. So just focus on that and try to, like, it did work for me. Try to take as many breaks as possible, because that rejuvenates your mind, and it would increase your efficiency even if you do not realize it will at the end of the day. So this is that.
Very
And just
important
believe in
point.
yourself, guys.
Yeah, believe in yourself. Belief is a really very important thing to have on yourself.
Because the examination is not that tough. When you sit for the examination, you'll realize that those are very simple questions that are asked, and they demand very simple answers. You just have to make pointers. Like we have been doing this since our school times, since our school, college, whatever. So it's just mainly that. And just don't try to complicate things. Try to take the easier way. Be that would work in favor of you guys.
Students must have got this particular point. Now, ma'am, one last question. Although you have already told so much about it, but still, I would like to ask that how did EduTap helped you in achieving your dream job of
Okay.
becoming RBI Grade B officer?
Okay. So when I made up my mind that I would prepare for the examination, I think the first source which I came across was EduTap only. So that I did some research and I got to know that the material that you provide is very relevant. So I just subscribed to your course, and I immediately started, not with that intensity, but I started with some kind of preparation from the material that, like, I used to watch videos in my free time. Like I used to devote, I remember hardly maybe 1 or 2 hours, because I loved watching your videos because they were so engaging. The examples that you use to make us understand the difficult concepts was, I think, that's a you have done commendable job on that. So I used to watch videos on that, and later on, after the notification came, the marathon sessions, they provided great help. The flow charts for schemes and everything, they were very effective, I would say. So I think I'm glad to have subscribed to your
Hmm.
course.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. So, guys, I really believe that you must have got all the answers to your queries that you were looking out for at different places. But here on the one-stop solution, ma'am has given you all the answer to all your queries about how to prepare for the exam, what to do, and what not to do as well. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining our platform and to tell your journey, to discuss your journey that how you became the RBI Grade B officer.
Hmm.
It was really commendable. And thank you for joining. And guys, also thank you for joining us. And we will also be coming up with such kind of more live success story sessions to all of you. So, ma'am, thank you for joining us. And on the whole team of EduTap and the whole student fraternity, we would like to wish you all the best for your future
Thank you
endeavors.
so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.